All right, we got a slow-mo video of Issa's strokes here. I was really digging the catches, so let's take a look here, and let's slow it down. This one, barely any backsplash. Not ideal. You missed a couple millimeters of water during the drive, but that's okay. Got a nice bend in the oar. Hands are a little too high on the recovery, but you come out nice and strong. Now, boom, you squared up. Perfect. Love it. That way, when you get to the catch right here, you're lowering it down to the water. Bam, ready to go in. A little bit of backsplash there. Yummy, yummy. Love it. Love it, y'all. This is what we want. Nice depth. Boom. You see that wiggle of the blade? You want to do it so strong that you get that wiggle on that blade. Squaring up early. Perfect. Now watch as Issa raises her hands as she comes into the last couple of inches of the recovery. Boom, ready to go in. Bam, drives it. That's what we want, y'all. Great job here, Issa. Sometimes your catches are very late, but then sometimes they're like this. And I want them to always be like this. And this goes for everybody. Boom, squaring up, coming up into the end of your recovery. Issa's hands are raising, blade's going towards the water. Boom, ready to go in. Backsplash. You see that big splash of water behind the blade? That's backsplash. That's what we want. Lovely depth, come out strong, finish into your body, wiggle, wiggle. You see that, y'all? That's what we want. That one wasn't quite as yummy as the others, but that's okay. You just got to try every stroke. Every stroke is another chance to get it right. This is what we mean when we say square up early. Issa's hands are out before her knees even start coming up. She's almost fully square. Boom, right in. Love it. See that bend in the oar? Yeah. So clean. Very good job, Issa. Keep this up. Do this every single time you row, please. Big fan. All right, here's another clip of some good catches, but just sped up so you guys can see what it looks like in real time. And just get ready because my camera work is impeccable. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this was when you guys first started to go by all four. Couple of things to point out here. Emma, I think you shorten your stroke a bit. It's a little bit more evident in the later videos in this particular one, but if you shorten your stroke a little bit, so be sure that you're still getting that full length. Just because it's tippy doesn't need, a shorter stroke. Still get that length up at the catch. Reach out towards that rigger. Issa, you miss water every couple of strokes here at the beginning, and I think a little bit later on as well. I know that's tough. The Gini sits pretty high off the water, and any 4 is going to tip a lot quicker than an 8 will in one direction or the other. So I know it's hard. Just make sure that you're being consistent with your stroke. You have a pretty good tap down most of the time. Sometimes you'll come out of the finish and raise your hands. That's a very common thing in 4s because you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to tip. I know it's going to tip. I just want to find the water with my blade during the recovery so that I can prevent it from tipping. Just avoid falling into that habit, and that's for everybody in this boat and everybody that's going to be in a 4 for the end of time. Don't let the 4 scare you. Be confident in your technique, as long as it's right. Finishes are a little bit off here. You guys have some strokes where you're all feathering at the same time and pulling in together, and then other strokes where you're not. That really affects the set. So I think, Issa, your spacers also need to be lower just in general when you're in a 4, because Maddie's not having any issue getting into the water. And so that tells me that you don't necessarily need to be off the water. And then Riley's going to catch a little crab here. Sorry, Riley, that looked like it hurt, but she's okay. So back to the 4 here. Eliza, I think you have really solid tap downs. I think occasionally you miss a couple of inches of water up at the catch. Sometimes you catch a little bit early, but I know that, in bow pair, this applies to you, Maddie, as well. At times, it's really easy to catch early because you're kind of in that rhythm, and then occasionally Issa will miss water for one reason or another. But obviously, it can't be perfect. But like I said, you'll have some really good strokes in here. Like that one was pretty good. This one is good as well. When you guys are catching on time, being confident in your technique throughout the drive, throughout the recovery, and then finishing on time together and strong, everything looks really great. Those are the cornerstones of a four. The best strokes that you have are going to be the ones where everybody's got pressure on, we're catching together on each side, and we're finishing together on each side. If you guys can do that and just keep that confidence up, fours are going to be easy. Emma, watch out for raising your hands out of the finish. I think in a four, you're a little bit more unsure, and so when you're at the finish, you are expecting your blade to slam down to starboard. And so you kind of just keep your blade close to the water. Don't do that. You got to do the correct technique even when you're at a four, and just, even if it's unset, just keep doing that tap down you know is correct. Well, hi there, log. Maddie, you gotta spread those legs and use the length and the height that you have to get that full extension. I was excited that we had an 8 and a 4. All right, so in this clip, at some point I will move over to show you guys the center line. So when we say heads in the boat, we don't just mean keep your attention and your eyes in the boat on the person in front of you. We also mean keep your heads on the center line. The center line means you guys have this imaginary string or wire or whatever you want to think that goes directly down the center of the boat, and you want to keep your head generally on that line. The only thing that moves and shifts are your shoulders, and you reach out towards your rigger at the catch, and then you come back to that center line. So Issa, you can see that your right shoulder is kind of leaning out over starboard. Don't let it do that. That's going to lead to an injury. In general, though, you guys are doing a good job of keeping yourselves on that center line. So Maddie, you can see an up close here. You could get a lot more reach, at least another inch, if you moved your body angle more forward and put your left elbow between your knees rather than keeping your knees together. Issa, I think on the whole your tap downs are pretty consistent and strong, but I want you to make sure that even in a four, you're tapping down, not tapping at the exact same level or up. You want to bring it in and then slightly lower that handle, and that goes for everybody. All right, so Emma, here is a good example of your oar being on the water. Your oar and Maddie's oar are on the water pretty consistently. For what I can tell is no reason. So that's a perfect example of overthinking and feeling like you need to have your oar on the water when you actually don't. So Eliza, here you are rushing and kind of slamming your butt into the end of that recovery. Be careful that you're not doing that. You're coming up way too soon. You're catching way before Issa. So be really careful of that. You have a powerful stroke and you have good extension, but you're coming up, you're slamming your butt, stopping, and then wasting part of your drive that you could be putting force into moving the boat forward. So careful of that.